What is up, car addicts? So a lot of you guys have been asking me to make a video as to how much the content in this new The Criminal Enterprises update is going to cost. So in this video, I'm going to be making some predictions and estimates based on the current GTA economy and the prices of similar recent content as well. So this video will be broken up into a few parts: the properties, cars, aircrafts, upgrades, the weapons, and of course the clothing. So starting off with the properties, there doesn't seem to be any new ones in this DLC by the looks of it, and Rockstar already confirmed that the custom bike shop for your existing motorcycle clubhouse will be free. However, as mentioned by Rockstar, we will be getting 2 additional property slots, which means that we will be able to store 20 new vehicles in this update. Now those can vary in price depending on whether or not you buy a high-end apartment or just the garage by itself. So I'm just going to roughly say about 500,000 for the property portion of this update. Moving on to vehicles, at the time of this recording, we have 8 new cars that have been teased by Rockstar. Now some of these might be Benny's conversions, but as we know, typically conversion costs are roughly the same price of a whole new car either way. But anyways, the first vehicle we all know is the Pagassi supercar, which is called either the Torero XO or the HO. We really can't tell because of the font they used in the logo that we saw in the trailer, but it's definitely Torero something in reference to the original Torero. This car is obviously based on the 2022 Lamborghini Countach, as we talked about in the past, and I think the best comparable vehicle price-wise is obviously the Pagassi Ignis, which was priced at about 2.7 million, and I'd probably say the Torero would be a little more expensive, being priced at about 2.8 million. Moving along to our second car, the Benefactor sports car, or it could even be a supercar as well, but anyways, it's primarily based on the Mercedes SLR Sterling Moss, and I think the most comparable vehicle in terms of price to this one would be the Dubachi Champion, which costs just under $3 million, and I think that's roughly what this car is going to cost, maybe a little less. I'm going to estimate about 2.9 million for this one. Continuing to our third car, which is called the Obey 10F, which is primarily based on the second generation Audi R8. This will most likely be a sports car, but it's also possible it could be in the supercar class as well, because of the Tempesta being based on the Huracan, which the second generation R8 and Huracan are built on the same platform in real life. So again, it could be in the supercar class. But anyways, I think the most comparable vehicle in terms of price to this one is the Tempesta, which costs about $1.3 million. And if we bump it up because of the GTA inflation, I'd say right around 1.8 million for this one. Moving on to our fourth car, we have another Obey vehicle. This one will most likely be in the sports class and is primarily based on the Audi e-tron GT. And I think the most comparable vehicle in terms of price to this one would be the iWagon, which costs $1.7 million. And I think this one will be a little more expensive than that one, so I'm going to say about 1.9 million. Continuing to our fifth car, we have the new Declassified muscle car, which of course is based on the 6th generation Camaro ZL1. And I think the most comparable vehicle in terms of price to this one will be the Buffalo STX, which was priced at a whopping $2.1 million without the trade price. However, I think the Camaro will be a lot cheaper than this. I'm predicting about 1.5 million for this one. Moving on to our sixth car, which is a new Bravado 4-door muscle car. This one is primarily based on the 1977 Dodge Monaco. I have a feeling this might be one of the cheaper cars in this DLC, and I think the best comparable for it is the Declassified Tulip, which was priced at $700,000. This one will most likely be a little more expensive, so I'm going to say about $900,000. Moving on to our seventh car, we have the Declassified Off-Roader, which is primarily based on the Chevy off-road concept. I think the best comparable in terms of price for this one will be the Patriot Mil-Spec, which has a regular price of about $1.7 million. And I think that's right around where this one's going to cost. So I'm going to say about $1.7 million for this off-roader. Continuing to our eighth car, we have what appears to be a brand new rat rod variant of the BF Weevil, or it could also be the BF Injection as well. My guess is that it will be called the BF Weevil Rat Rod. And this one is of course based on a custom VW Beetle Rat Rod. Now the Weevil cost $870,000 for its normal price, but this Rat Rod variant could either be a whole new car, or it could possibly be a Benny's upgrade as well, I'm not sure. But either way, I'm going to say this one will cost you just under $1 million, so I'm going to say about $900,000 for this one. And lastly, our 9th car, which is not confirmed, and this is the only image we see from the info Rockstar gave us. It looks to be the Vicer Neo at first glance, but looking at some key design cues and the proportions of the car, it definitely seems to be a new one, and I think it could also be possibly an SUV. Now the price of the Pfister Astron, for example, from the contract DLC was about $1.6 million, so I'm not sure what to predict for this one, so I'm just going to say $1.5 million for this unknown car. In terms of Benny's vehicles, we have the Sentinel Classic. Now in the trailer we saw the Benny's exclusive wheels on it, a new livery, and a bolt-on wide-body kit. That means this will possibly be one of the new Benny's cars with this update. The last time we received a new Benny's car was with the 2020 Summer DLC, and the Benny's custom conversion cost for most of the cars in that update were around $700,000, so I'm going to say about $800,000 for the Benny's Sentinel Classic custom conversion cost. And of course, there are definitely more new vehicles, Benny's cars, HSW cars, and upgrades they're holding off on showing us. This DLC is probably going to have about 18 to 20 cars in total, including the drip feed cars. So if we average about 8 to 9 extra cars that we probably haven't even seen yet, we can make an average estimate of about $1.2 million for those cars, which totals about $10 million for these unknown drip feed cars. Also, we have to factor in the upgrades for normal cars as well. Usually it costs about $300,000 to max out a car, but judging by the upgrades, I noticed on some of these cars in the trailer, plus Rockstar confirming the Amani tech on some cars, we could easily add a couple $100,000 to that. So to fully upgrade the 18 to 20 new cars in this DLC, I'm estimating about $7 million just in upgrades alone for the new customization options for the newer ones and the older ones as well. Moving on to aircrafts, we have one confirmed new helicopter which appears to have the NOTAR system, and for those of you who don't know how the system works, I will leave a video linked down below explaining it. It's a very cool system and will be the first helicopter with it in GTA Online. Now the one we saw in the trailer seems to be based on the MD-900 Explorer, and I can tell you this helicopter will not be cheap. The last helicopter they added in game was the Annihilator Stealth, and that one had a normal price of just under $3.9 million, but that one had weapon upgrades and of course the stealth function. This one probably won't have any weapons, but it does have that cool NOTAR system. I'm going to say about $3 million for this helicopter. Moving on to the new weapons, we have two new weapons that were shown, which are the two new rifles. The first one seems to be based on an M16. I estimate about $500,000 for this one with the upgrades. And the second one seems to be based on a Remington MSR. I also estimate about $500,000 for this one with the upgrades. So we can safely say about $1 million just in weapons for this update. And lastly, in terms of clothing, we usually get a few different articles of clothing for each DLC, and usually the outfits are the more expensive ones, especially when they're priced at like $100,000 each. So I'm going to guess about $1 million to buy all the potential new clothes and accessories from this update. So the grand total I'm estimating for this Criminal Enterprise DLC is between $35 and $40 million to buy and max out every single item in the update, including the drip feed content as well. If you're looking for a cost without the drip feed content, just go ahead and take off about $10 million from that, so I'd say about $30 million for day one content. But overall, it's definitely a lot of money, but with Caio Perico Solo giving you roughly $1.5 million for every hour of work, I don't think it's that bad of a money grind, especially if you have a business running in the background at the same time. So again, definitely try to get as much money as you can for this DLC, guys, and either way, if you only plan on buying maybe 3 or 4 cars and new weapons, you're still going to need about $10 million to buy those and fully upgrade them as well. So if you don't have at least $10 million in GTA, I definitely get on that grind this weekend. And remember that the payouts for a lot of the old heists, missions, and activities will be increased with this update as well, so it should be a lot easier to get most of your money back after the DLC releases. Anyways guys, hope you enjoyed, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.